Well, I don't know of this vehicle because if you actually remember that, you're just gonna be let me know down in the comments. I actually try to know about this car because I probably turn itself into orange. I know about this vehicle, about for shining glitter cookie like this turn into pink as well. And another one is the McLaren Senna once again, 241 miles per hour vehicle, and it's actually the Senna GTR, and it's not some sort of a race car or something. It was a modified version of the vehicle. The 0 to 60 is 2.36 miles per hour, 262 miles per hour in world record max, and it's absolutely for a hybrid tech vehicle of the hypercar for themselves. Another one that could cause some Game Pass is the Aston Martin Vulcan. I really could be able to recommend it to buy this vehicle, but we actually gonna be trying to open up this hood. I think this is absolutely for the V12 universe as well, so we have to close that down and not look by themselves inappropriate. Another one is the Lotus Avenger, the most fastest electric car, not the fastest electric car of them all. Rimac takes it, and because it must be the fastest British electric car ever on 200 miles an hour. The fastest supercar, and most likely recently, is the McLaren Speedtail, 252 miles an hour. I dang it recommended to try to buy this vehicle, and especially this is actually that is one of this under $2.5 million, under $3.5 million. Over $2 million is actually gonna be worth it as well. And the next one is the Bugatti Chiron Standard as well. This is the Bugatti Chiron that I just completely able to load. 291 miles per hour. That's slightly going to be reached in about 300 mile per hour run of this W16 engine. Another one of this hypercar as well, as the copied version of like this vehicle, like the modern F1. I probably didn't recommend it to buy like over millions of dollars, because that worth it, that is last thing to do that I never able to buy of this vehicle. Another one is the FXXK Evolutionary, which is slightly more expensive, over $3 million in cash. Another one is under $4.5 million. Could be the Koenigsegg Agera R, like the Need for Speed reference. Probably not look like this, but not turn into some sort of a black vehicle. And another most fastest vehicle, it just could be the same, not the same as well, 295 miles per hour, just like the same as the Koenigsegg CCXR, or some sort of a Koenigsegg like the race car itself. Another one is the Koenigsegg Chimera sedan, and it's absolutely the most fastest sedan in Sweden. Another one, not the Sweden entire world. This is absolutely the most banned thing like entire world. And it was absolutely the most aggressive thing, the Lykan Hypersport. And it is absolutely the most fastest car in some sort of, I don't really know about this thing, but Street Racing 3D it was. Up next, we're gonna be the most fastest in the vehicle that we're doing this for overpriced for over $3 million. This is the Koenigsegg Jesko, which is a Game Pass and with the Dealership Tycoon, not in Vehicle Legends, but it's also a limited car, must be the Bugatti La Voce Neo as well. It must be the Neo as well. It was some sort of a little bit powerful like this one. And most likely another request is the Enzo Ferrari. I got it. It was my favorite car that I just actually wanted to buy of this vehicle, not some sort of a limited time. Another one is the Koenigsegg CC850S. I get it. It must be actually not the fastest vehicle because that was some slight of reducing like this car before that I just probably never be able to buy like this thing, and I'll be opening up the car. There must be V8 engines like this one, and we popped up the hoods and all the doors are just completely open like the old of the vehicles that I just completely turned around with this stuff. And the next one that I owned of this vehicle in Dealership Tycoon and Driving Empire, but it was slightly removed in April Fools at the time that I just completely owned the Driving Empire. This is the Daytona SP3 Ferrari Daytona SP3, which is I bought it for 1 year ago. Over a year that I'm just never able to be driving for just only one day. But before, it's gonna be under $4 million. It could be actually the Koenigsegg Regera super powered like this vehicle as well. And it was actually some sort of a Superman reference. And it's gotta be like this for almost under $4 million. The most over $4 million could be. Sometimes orange cars doesn't stand for the world's fastest vehicles like these cars for most likely over 200 miles per hour. I think the up next will be absolutely gonna be making for some more like this thing, that instead of like that we just already said already. And probably another one of this hypercar must be for the Apollo IE. I recently saw this car in Forza Horizon 4, and that we just eventually looking aggressive into their white right wheel handed drive. That we probably to do this, that we just eventually saw this for even since I just watched it since 2019, and hey, it must be the Agera RS like this car as well. And I wouldn't able to be recommended for over $4 million in cash about of this car. This is about for over $4 million in cash, as you can open up and closing down as well. Another one, it must be the same as the Koenigsegg Agera R, and the Agera RS, it looks actually the same as well. And another one could be exactly as the reference of Ferrari P30 P4. It's absolutely some sort of a 330 P4 like this reference from the 1960s, and probably looked like it wasn't probably just the same. It was an unknown hypercar like this one, if you just try to let me know down in the comments. And also it's used for the right wheel drive, right wheel handed, that we just completely turn into the green speed racing like this thing as a racing drone as well. Because up next, it was most likely the fastest high performance vehicles like this thing, and it's currently pretending to be an LMP1 car as the most fastest lap in about hypercars. It was the Aston Martin AMR Pro Valkyrie. This is actually the Valkyrie AMR Pro is absolutely not way faster. It was actually slower and probably slower like the 296 miles per hour that didn't make it anyways. And another one, it must be the Lykan Hypersport, because it was actually the modern version of this car. Because if you just let me know and down in the comments, because we eventually almost forgot to see the interior to popped up some doors, even for some sort of a flapping wings like a butterfly. And I recently never gonna be probably like to saw anything as well, because good thing that you actually remember about of this thing. And you look like I almost forgot about this. This is the McLaren F1 Classic, as we try to open up the hood, and all of the doors and features have been completely open. The engine compartments, and there's no storage like this. The storage rooms are probably open up for some sort of a vents as well, pretending to be like a wild plane. In the front of the hood, that must be for some sort of a controls or radiator as well, radiator controls like this thing. The interior is absolutely holds up for 3 seats, and it's probably that I'll be able to buy for this when I was filthy rich like this thing in the future as well. It's $5.5 million in cash, $4.5 million we probably wanted to buy. For over $4.5 million car could be actually the McLaren P1 GTR, and it's 244 miles per hour. Because as you can see, 263 miles per hour, way more faster than the P1 GTR. But they're not referenced in the back of this vehicle that was just never able to be like that. You never saw about this, and it could be not slower, and it's absolutely this car that absolutely is more slower. No, I'm probably not sure, because the Aston Martin Valkyrie AMR Pro is slower than this. The Bugatti Chiron Pure Sport is a 297 mile per hour top speed of rating, and the fastest acceleration is 1.92 seconds. Because it was actually slower than this, because actually that I really know that Bugatti's all removed from Driving Empire and replaced with those into the Grand Theft Auto versions like this thing. And do you know this vehicle was probably sold off to do this as well when Andrew Tate being arrested by police? We probably never saw about this one thing. I have never probably seen this before, that we just open up the hood. It was 3 doors and 1 engine compartment, 2 doors and 1 engine compartment onto the back hood as well in the mid-engine racing system like this thing. And the next one is the McLaren Sauber. It was actually 267 mile per hour vehicle. It's most likely faster than a McLaren F1, because I recommended this is absolutely for in about almost $5 million than actually this $49,000 car is more than not this. $48,000 car could be the Tesla Roadster, the fastest production electric car in the United States, and it absolutely reached up to 255 miles per hour, and looks like it's absolutely ridiculously fast. The acceleration is 2.55 seconds, because the faster that likely miles per hour was pretty ridiculous. And I remember about of this Ferrari F50 GT, because you remember in about of this thing, I know, I remember back in the day that it was actually over a year ago when I was at Christmas event, I completely owned for the Ferrari F50 GT. It was slightly perfectly fast. Then it's 235 miles per hour, and it was completely ridiculous. Like then more than 262 miles per hour, it was slower than a McLaren F1. And the reasonable that the max status is 287, and it was actually like the most fast racing vehicles that I just ever done this in Christmas event 2022, when that actually got being removed from Ferraris. I mean, all Ferraris being removed from Driving Empire. I was pretty extremely worried about this vehicle, because Rainbow Dash took it back for initial response, but not that for the initial response like this one. It must be some sort of a CEO who just gonna be taken down for just a little bit of a lot of stuff, because if it absolutely try to find a refund like ourselves, the F50 GT is ways of 2.25 seconds in a 0 to 60 mile per hour, like efficiently like this one. Because I'll be buying this vehicle in the near future and almost $5 million in cash. And the next one is the Koenigsegg 101. We don't really need to test drive, because it was actually same as the Koenigsegg Agera RS. Before Koenigsegg Agera RS, It's absolutely more faster than the Koenigsegg Agera R. But probably we open up every hood like itself, it's just like the same as every Koenigsegg cars that I just bought from. And especially, most likely, faster than a limited cars as well, such as I got the Koenigsegg CCXR. And which is, I have a various plans like this thing, because I eventually saw this from Forza Horizon 3. Because it's probably not possibly that I just completely saw like this before.